Hello and welcome back to another episode of Your Property Podcast. I'm Michelle Cairns from YPN, and with us today we've got Dan Wood from the Swedish Wealth Institute. Hi, Dan.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back.
I know, right? So it's been a while. I was just trying to think when I was trying to search, and it must be so far back. Like the search thing kept going back pages and pages. But I was remembering it was, of course, COVID times, and it was the Clubhouse days. That's how we kind of connected originally.
Right.
And then we ended up doing a podcast, and you invited me on yours, and I invited you on mine, and then a really weird coincidence was last year I was looking for tickets for UPW, obviously Tony Robbins. And it was very last minute, and I was thinking, I wonder if there's any tickets on Facebook, any tickets going. And I just came across a lady, and she was selling tickets, and I said, how do I know you're real? How do I know you're not like, one of these scamming people? And she's like, well, no, I work with this guy called Daniel Wood, and he's like, all legit, and I can get him to verify for you. And I was like, Daniel Wood, wow, I can't be the same one. Well, it was. And what are the chances? And then obviously we met at UPW in person there. It was cool to reconnect.
In itself there, because I was literally leaving for the airport, and I'm walking with my bag. I turn around, I'm like, I recognize you. And all of a sudden we connected again. It was, out of a sea of 10,000 people, we just happened to catch each other again.
Yeah, because we were trying to kind of connect through the weekend, and we were both busy doing things, and it was meant to be, obviously. And then we've gone on to do different projects and things since. Very, very, very interesting projects. So it's been a cool journey, and you're obviously, in terms of working with the property community now, getting very kind of embedded within the property community and within the UK, as well as internationally as well, which we're going to talk about. So we're not going to do a background of how you got into, where you are today, because people can find that on the old podcast, which I'll put a link to in the show notes. So let's just talk about the fun stuff that's going on, right now for you, and what's happened since we last spoke a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, the biggest news is we have the Financial Freedom Summit here in November. So if you're listening to this before the 7th of November, we have it coming. We have some amazing speakers, and it's kind of what we wanted to talk about, how this event came to happen. So we have Jairek Robbins, which is Tony Robbins' son, who's become a good friend of mine. He's speaking. We have Kim Kiyosaki, who is, one of the CEO of the Rich Dad organization, wrote Rich Woman. And we have Sharon Lechter, who co-wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So we have these amazing speakers. We have this woman called Michelle Cairns speaking as well, which we're really excited about. And we have all these speakers from all over the world. I mean, we got Simon Zucci, we got Richie Clapson, we got Kane Minkus, we got Elliot Wilcox, Jill Peterson. Like we have this amazing, exciting lineup of speakers. And we were talking about how this kind of came to happen, and how this can, the same process I've used to be able to get people like Jairek Robbins to join me on my show, on my summit, how that can be applied whatever you're doing. Like, it's about networking, it's about building your connections. And obviously we have a lot of property investors on the call, and how you could apply the same methodology to raising finance and getting people to refer you and bring you money. So yeah, that event's going to be amazing. It's all about how to become financially free and learning from the best people in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you're talking about the principles, being able to raise finance because property, as in most businesses, it's not about the product as such. Yes, you need the product, you need the houses in this case, but it is about a people business, and it's about who you know. And if you want to really fast track your success and work with other people to learn from other people, or to kind of cross skills or cross resources, where if there's something that's missing, it might be you want to work with somebody who is really great at AI, right? Or you want to work with somebody who's got the funds or has got the contacts or whatever, then understanding how to network really effectively, where, it's a win-win for everyone, is really important. And it just goes to show you with yourself, with obviously our relationship as well, and how that's benefited not just us, but lots of people in our community as well. So, and I know you've raised, thousands and thousands of pounds through working with private investors, and you're going to have an investor day where I'll be speaking, and Simon and Richie, etc. So it's going to be interesting to kind of have that angle. And I think, are you looking at the Financial Freedom Summit through this concept of, the rich dad poor dad with the business investor and the quadrants? So for people who are not familiar with that, which I think a lot of people in our community are certainly familiar with the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, but do you want to talk about how that kind of feeds into the day and the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were sitting down, and so the event really came from both our community really going, look, we want to learn from these speakers, and me kind of opening my Rolodex and realizing that every one of the speakers they were asking for is just a phone call away. Like, I've become friends with them all over the years. And so we said, all right, but they're in very different industries. Like, Jarek Robbins speaks about very different things than Kim Kiyosaki, and Simon Zucci speaks about very different things than Kane Minkus. So how do we put together an event that will allow someone to come to one place, learn from all these top amazing speakers, without it just feel like a muddled mess? And so what we realized is, we've worked. So I mean, for me, the book that started me on my journey was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Same.
Yeah, it's like, for this community, right? That is, it's
Yeah.
our Bible, right? And after reading it, I kept reading through, the Rich Dad library, and I loved the book, The Cash Flow Quadrants, because it explains the journey so easily. So if you haven't seen it, basically it's a square where you have four different quadrants. You have the left side and the right side. And what Robert always talks about, of course, is you have your rich dad, that's the left, sorry, your poor dad, that's your left side. You got your rich dad, that's the right side. And you want to move from being on poor dad's side to rich dad's side. So on the poor dad's side, that's where you got your employees, and that's where you have your self-employed. And you want to move to rich dad's business and investor. And so what we've done with the event is, because we were able to gather these best speakers, we have a whole bunch of speakers that are going to talk about how do you move into the B quadrant, how do you become a business owner, and also, if you're already there, how do you grow within that quadrant. And then we have lots of speakers like yourself who are amazing at the I quadrant, at investing. So how do we, so that day 2 is specifically targeted. So that's the 8th of November, is targeted to investors. And we have Kim Kiyosaki speaking that day. We got Simon, we got Richie, we got Lewis Crompton, who's talking stocks. So we're talking really every single type of asset class, everything from gold to crypto to stocks to property to different strategies within each, which will be incredibly, incredibly cool. And the same thing in business. And then on day 4, that's where we kind of go into your branding day. We have experts on public speakings, on how to run webinars, on how to build those relationships, on how to do networking, and all of those together. Then if you're able to set aside those 4 days and follow along, your business, your whatever, whether that's a just a normal company or a property business, it will be forever changed. You're going to be learning from the best and the best in just such a download of information.
Yeah. And the people that you've, curated and you've pulled together, an impressive lineup of speakers here. But, that wasn't always the way. It's not like you grew up in a family that, was in contact with all these people. So
I'm
talk
the
to me about
first
hustle.
entrepreneur ever in my family, by the way. So no, I have no help in that sense.
Amazing. And well, talk to us about the hustle, because I know you've got a lot of hustle to, make things happen, and just, change your own life as well as other people's lives as well. So for a lot of people, they might be thinking, well, wow, how do you get to kind of liaise with people who are on a different, not just like financial level, but mindset level as well, and how to like work, like raise your peer group, right? That's what you've done essentially. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, actually, what I was thinking about when you told, yeah, how we kind of met there around the Unleash the Power Within event. That woman had exactly what you were looking for, right? You were looking for UPW tickets, and she had the UPW tickets. And there's so many times that as investors, you have someone that has money that's looking to place the money, and you have a deal for them to place it in. And yet, even though she had exactly what you were looking for, you were not ready to buy from her, right?
Yeah.
You were willing to miss the event rather than buy a ticket that didn't exist, and you
Yeah.
didn't know if you could take her word for it.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason why that deal happened was because she could bring someone in to refer her, and kind of, and luckily we happened to know each other, which made it even easier. But otherwise, at least you could have Googled me or so. So
Bit of
it's
credibility.
really, whenever you're networking, you have, like, it's not only about you, it's about how can you prove your value. And there are a couple ways to do it. One is what she did, right? She didn't have to prove her own value. She used someone else to be her, to be the value for her, and that's a great way of doing it. Another way is, what I like to do is always try to do a favor for someone else first. Provide value to them. And actually, we had Tony Robbins was in Germany here just a few weeks ago, well, about a month and a half ago now, and so I was down there, and as I was down there, I was trying to network as much as possible. And as one of the organizers to the event, in charge of like the Scandinavian and British market, we I got to hang out with the other organizers, the ones who were in charge of other countries. And I was sitting down with one of the organizers from Dubai, and he was talking. We're talking about what we'd done with the event. We were sharing tips and ideas, and he kind of said, "Wow, what we really want though is I want to bring Robert Kiyosaki to Dubai." I said, "Well, you know what? I'm not his agent, but I work with Robert. Like, do you want me to give him a call? I'll see if I can get him. He might be in the area. Who knows?" And the goal was actually to get him down in end of November. But I called up my contacts in the Rich Dad organization. I got on a call with his PA, and it turned out that Robert was going to be in Dubai at the end of November, the exact
No
dates
way.
they were looking
Wow.
for. Now, sadly, Robert is in his 80s, and he was already going to do two events, so they couldn't put a third one. He just doesn't have the energy for it. But it looks like he's going to be coming down in February. And so I reached back out to Sepper. I said, "Hey, good news. I've sorted it all. Like, here, I'm going to introduce you to his PA, and we should be able to have Robert come down and speak for you um, in Dubai." Now, I'm not Robert's agent, so Robert's going to get a huge keynote fee, right? We're talking, I don't know, maybe $100,000 to come to Dubai just to show up, right? I'm not getting any cut of that. I'm not getting paid by Sepper. I'm not getting paid from Robert's organization. I just did them both a favor. I just set that up, no expectation of anything. But I've never been to Dubai, so I kind of dropped for separate. Like, hey, if this happens, I might come down. Like, I've never been to Dubai. It would be fun to hang out with you guys. And so he said, "Look, no problem at all, Larry. If you fly down at the event, we'll take care of you. Everything from then on is on us. You bring your phone, leave everything else. We'll pick you up in a limo. We'll put you up in a 5-star hotel. We'll take care of you while you're there." I'm like, awesome, right? I'm going to Dubai. I'm hanging out with a guy who knows the city, who's connected. Like, this is going to be fun. A couple weeks later, because we've been connected, and we stay in contact, but it came up on his Facebook stories. He dropped a selfie of him and his neighbor, and I recognized instantly who this gentleman was. And I sent my friend a text. I'm like, "Dude, is that actually your neighbor, or is this like a you know Instagram neighbor, right? Is this, like, were you just lucky to meet him?" He's like, "No, no, this is my neighbor, and we're good friends. We'll hang out on occasion." And the guy, his neighbor is the footballer Ronaldinho. His other neighbor is Roberto Carlos. And so I'm going like, "Oh my God, when I go to Dubai, these are the people I'm going to be hanging out with. This is like what we're going to do." And it all came because I I gave value first, right? I didn't ask for anything in return. Like, it was his suggestion to take care of my trip. Like I said, I'll fly down. Like, I'm paying for my own ticket down. I got him Robert Kiyosaki, and now I'm going to make all kinds of new exciting friends. And that's just how it goes, right? If you can provide value to someone first, they will want to bring value back. And it doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes you connect people
Yeah.
together, they go off and they do something. You're sitting there like, well, they just built $1 million business and I didn't even get a glass of wine as a thank you. But somewhere, people, I believe in karma. If you're giving people value, it's going to come back. And then, of course, you always want to have, your business cap on. So, I mean, I know Sepper runs events, I run events. So, of course, he's going to be promoting some of my events in the future. I'm going to send down other of my speakers that I actually do represent to Dubai to speak on his behalf. So I know there's a monetary value to me as well in making Sepper happy. But this first interaction was not about me going in there trying to make a profit or close the deal, right? Get the investor. It was me going, hey, I can actually solve a problem you have. And now that opens all kinds of doors for me.
Yeah, I guess it depends what level you're at as well, right? And what you're trying to achieve. And, you know, like Robert Kiyosaki might be charging 100K for his keynote. Like he might not have to do any favors for me and you, right? But if you are starting out, and I remember myself, at the very beginning of my journey, I thought, wow, what can I do? I don't have any experience. I don't have any funds. I don't have any education, but what can I do? And I love networking. So I started my own networking group and I brought together people in the community who were just interested in property, and there was no cost to it. It was just meeting in a bar. And I had that meeting every month for 4 years. And many deals were done through that meeting. And again, I wasn't taking any commission or anything like that. And I ended up actually doing a deal with somebody who'd come to that meeting, and we developed a big block of 5 flats together. And it was just down to he got to know, like, and trust me through that meeting, and me being able to connect with other people. So I think if you are at the beginning of your stages, people are listening, thinking, well, how can I apply that to me? Well, we can all go out there and connect other people, like if that's your skill set, if that's how your personality, of course. Especially working with agents, being able to refer deals that aren't suitable for you to agents, and refer other people who are investors to people who've got deals, or whatever it is. Like, it's a huge opportunity to add value without really having like a really strong skill set or other resources. And that's how you get to have these communities and have these contacts, right? So yeah,
Well, and it
it
doesn't matter where you are on the journey. You're right. I mean, if you've gotten to the point where, let's say you've just put together a power team, right? You have a good accountant, you got a solicitor, you have surveyors that you can call. Well, now you have something that a lot of people don't have.
yeah.
And all of those contacts would love to get new clients. So now if you're talking to another property investor or you're talking to a potential investor, being able to hook them up with an accountant, a solicitor, a surveyor is brilliant. They're going to appreciate you for it. So, if you're standing there with a potential investor, and instead of asking them for their money, you refer them to your accountant because they might need someone to discuss, their financial situation, and might maybe need tax advice before they start getting into investing. Well, they're going to remember you were the person who didn't say, "Oh, great, give me £100,000 for this deal." The other person who said, "Well, look, before you should invest, you should be looking at the tax implications. Look at what format and structure you should be getting. I got a great accountant and tax guy. If you want, I'll connect you." And then, after that, and you know what you need to do, then, we can have a further conversation if you want. And probably if you're doing this consistently with your accountant, they're going to have nice things to say about you when that investor goes, "Well, look, it was Michelle who introduced me here, and I know she's in property, and I don't want to learn it myself, but I would love to get into property." And the accountant might go, "Well, look, based on what we've structured, property is a great way for you. Yeah, maybe have a call." They can't tell you to do, they won't tell them to do the deal because that would be a type of financial advice that they can't give. But they might say, "Well, that might be a good idea to have a call with Michelle, just hear what she has to say." So
Yeah,
by
and if you've got a good accountant, then you'll be like the most popular person in the room if you can refer someone who's good quality, and they've got a successful business. Of course, it's
Exactly. Or if you're
yeah,
talking to someone, again, maybe a potential investor who's doing some home renovation and it's not going according to plan and they're all frustrated. Well, you know what? Maybe introduce them to your project manager or introduce them to your builder. Help them out wherever they are now, and they'll remember that. Like if you're the property investor who fixed their kitchen, who's the property investor they're going to want to invest with when it comes to placing their money? Of course, it's the one
yeah.
who gets things done and has proven it without any, expectation.
And it's if you boil it down, it's basically solving a problem and solving people's pain and offering them an opportunity as well. So,
And that then leads to
yeah,
referrals, right? If they're talking to a friend who's going like, I really want to get into property. Well, yeah, Michelle really helped me out. Yeah, you remember my kitchen refurb. It was going to crap. Da, da, da. I talked to Michelle. She introduced this project manager and this builder and this accountant, and all of a sudden, all my problems went away. I mean, I know she does property deals herself. Maybe you should have that conversation. I
yeah. I'm sure, like you get phone calls from people who you met years ago, and they're, oh, hey, remember the conversation we had, and you told me this, and you helped me with this bit, and then now I'm looking, or now I've got a deal. What do you think? And yeah, good karma comes back for sure.
really
So
does, and it sets you up as an expert, even if you might not know them talking about you, but creating these ripples, you're setting yourself up in your community as the person to talk to about property. And I mean, yeah, now I'm after doing this for a decade, I'm at a level where yeah, I can call Robert Kiyosaki's team and get him booked on an event in Dubai. Yeah, I might get to hang out with Ronaldinho. Like, but that didn't happen overnight. It started with me, just like you. We set up a free little networking event for our local property investors here in Sweden. We gathered them together. We brought in, experts wherever we could find them, and they would help people in the community. And, as we then became kind of the leaders of the community, people started reaching out to us when they had problems, and we would go and talk to our connections and kind of go, hey, is there anyone who can help out in this situation? And then the network grew on both sides. The people who could solve problems, they would refer us to other people who could solve different problems, so our network of experts grew. And the same thing on the people asking for our help and support. And some of those turned into investors, others turned into friends, others turned into business partners, and others referred other people that turned into all those things.
yeah, you've no idea like where those ripples go, right? And just, look back to how we met through Clubhouse. Like we didn't have to do that. It was COVID and we were looking for something to
Well, we
do.
were
And
bored. It was COVID, so we
yeah,
had to do something.
true, true. We sort of ended up in this Clubhouse room, and then and talking to people, and then people wanted to hear what we had to say, and we were working with the likes of Simon and other people, and that was a great, again, an opportunity to network. But you never know where those ripples go, and it's all about it's funny because you say about people hearing about what you do as well, and property, like the entrepreneur world, is very small world, and the reputation travels very far very fast, and there's a sense of transparency. If you want to know who to trust, like finding people who have been in these circles for a long time, but have got lots of people recommending them and saying, oh, I met Michelle or Dan, 2 years ago or 5 years ago, and yeah, they were great and they helped me. Like to have that as a point of credibility, bringing you back to the point of how we met on the second time through UPW. That credibility is what's gained through that network, right? And can only be built on as you work with other people on different levels as well. So and especially in a world of, and I know you're really interested in like AI and what's how that is changing the world, but one of the ways it's changing it is through uh it's making people question what's real when they aren't sure. They see images, and they see videos and things on social media that have been adapted, and as you said, you're a friend with the neighbor, and it's like, is this a real image? So having the credibility through real life networks and real life experiences, I think is only going to be like more and more valuable. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think overall, because we actually on Saturday just did a live event where, we gathered people in a room. And I mean, I love doing these virtual events, right? Because people can join from all over the world. Like, we're going to have 20,000 people on the Financial Freedom Summit. It's going to be one of
Wow.
the biggest events in this space this year. It's going to be awesome. But imagine if that was live. Like, I would have to rent a whole stadium to pull that off, and people would have to fly in from all over the world. There's this level of logistics that becomes incredible. Now we have, everyone can sit in their underwear and on their couch anywhere in the world and watch these amazing speakers. So there's a value to doing things virtually. There's a value to what's coming in AI. There's a value to all the automation. Though I did love the event on Saturday because we put, about 200 people live in the room. We had three speakers, including myself, talking about, investing, talking about business. I was talking about a lot of the things I've learned from knowing Jarek, from knowing Kim, from knowing Robert, and of course, speaking on behalf of Tony Robbins for many, many years and being able to share those lessons. And then just being able to allow the room to network with each other, getting to know each other, that the power that happens when people connect in real life, I think is unmatched, which is why we try to get that combination.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of these things is that, we can do both, right? We don't have to just do one, and having the opportunity to see people in person as well as on screen just, I don't know, makes it all real, right? So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so useful to be able to, talk to your accountant or a solicitor through Zoom. You can sign the paperwork now with DocuSigns and stuff. You don't actually have to physically go and meet them. But at the same time, like having that physical one-on-one meeting, especially as you're providing value and trying to build that relationship, there's a huge difference, going and taking a drink at a bar or just sitting on a Zoom call.
yeah.
And as you want to build your credibility, and now I mean, a lot of people are introverts, and this is going out of your comfort zone. Um and and so, you'll find your way of doing it, but any way that you can be providing value and making yourself memorable to people is worth so much. Seeing people live is more memorable than a Zoom call. And, doing someone a favor that bails them out of a problem they're having is the best way for them to always remember you.
Oh, as well as just keeping connected as well. So that, being part of a community where, like-minded people, where everyone is just, they're not just sitting there watching like daytime TV, they're out there getting themselves educated, learning new things. Like there's a real energy around that. And, whether that is something that takes you into the day or takes you into the week or takes you into a new project or a new way of thinking, like you can't go back. We both know that when we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, there was a light bulb kind of moment that went off that you can't go back to the old way of thinking. And that is just like so powerful that when we surround ourselves with people who think differently, then you're just expanding. It's like you can kind of feel the brain cells creating and just like mapping all over your head, like, wow, this is a new concept. And that's where it starts for a lot of people, isn't it? So, by coming to the Financial Freedom Summit, where people are not just learning, it's not just about tactics and learning tips and tricks of different things. Yes, of course, you're going to go away with lots of nuggets, but it is around thinking differently and learning from people in real time about what's happening today in today's world with all of these changes. It's never been more important to keep up with everything that's happening. So it's
It's so powerful. I mean, let me share how Jarek came on the summit, because that actually comes because of one of our other speakers, Paul O'Mahony, who's speaking at the event. Is Paul is talking about social media, and so I use a lot of different strategies for social media and for growing it. And so I met Jarek well, I didn't meet him, but I connected with him at last year's Unleash the Power Within event with Tony Robbins. So I was happily posting away, and I was using the strategies to get it to grow and get the visibility. And then all of a sudden, Jarek popped into my feed, and he was posting about something, and I remembered a friend of mine told me that about 15, 20 years ago, Jarek had spoken at an event in Sweden. And this was before I was in this kind of sphere. So it must be like 20 years ago now. But so I sent him a message, or I commented on the post and just said, hey, when are you coming back to Sweden? And that was it. Like, I didn't know what it would lead to, but he replied to the comment and said, hey, nothing booked right, nothing booked right now. And so I thought, all right, let me be a little bit cheeky here. And I said, well, I'm from Sweden. I'm at UPW in Birmingham right now. We just brought 130 of our clients to come and see Tony. I know every one of them and all of our other clients would love to see and connect with you. Like, we got to get you to Sweden. And next thing I know, he sends me a private message. And we start chatting, and now I'm starting to go like, wow, can this really be Jarek? Like, this got to be like a scam profile. It can't be this
Jarek's
easy.
bot.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this can't be real. And so I said, well, how about we jump on a call? Like, all right, now I'm gonna catch this scammer out here, so whoever's ripping off Jarek. And we jump on a call, and I turn on the camera, like we're on WhatsApp. I turn on the camera, and pop up comes Jarek's face, sounding just like Tony Robbins himself. And it's like, this is actually real. I'm actually talking to the real guy. And since then, we've jumped on, a bunch of calls, and, he's told me about some of the crazy things he and his dad work on, and some of the project he himself is working on, because he's absolutely outstanding as a speaker. Like, the things he's doing are incredible. And, when we came up with the idea for the Financial Freedom Summit, I just said, well, let me see if Jarek wants to be involved. And I gave him a call and said, hey, dude, this is what we're doing. This is what we want to achieve. I want you to be one of the keynotes. Are you in? And he said, yeah, of course I'm in. Let's do this. And it started from using one of the strategies that we'll be teaching at the event about how to use social media, how to grow your social media. So whatever it is you want to become better at, if it's public speaking, if it's branding, if it's how to structure a property deal, how to do developments, how to, create multiple streams of income, how to network for finding investors. Like, we've brought in a speaker that will help you solve that problem.
And of course, I'm speaking as well. So I'm working on my presentation at the moment and thinking, obviously, we've got lots of people will be registering from the UK as well as internationally. So it's a new audience for me. And I was thinking about the deals that I've done and my experience and what I've learned over the years, and how that can be, transferred to people where they're not necessarily in the UK market. And it's interesting because there are so many transferable skills that you learn through this, because as we all know, it's not just about property, it's about these softer skills of negotiation and working with investors and private finance and lots of different people within the industry to to help them to make win-win solutions, and also to grow your own portfolio. So many people are desperate to reach that financial freedom goal, whatever that is for them. And a lot of people think, okay, that's really out of reach for me, and I'm not sure if I can do it, if it's even possible. When actually just understanding what do you need to get out of the day job, if that's what you want, which for many people, it's replacing the day job or having the option to replace the day job, right? So having that side hustle, having that buffer in place, having that long-term wealth plan where you're not just trading your time for money every day, you're actually investing in yourself and you're investing in your own future to grow your portfolio. So that's what I'll be talking about. I'll be talking about different case studies of how some of the deals I've done with none of my own money that you can do all over the world, and the skill sets that are involved that I've picked up through invest in my own education through lots of training, and just through trial and terror for some of them, really working your way through different projects and working with different people at the beginning. If you're doing it on your own, it can be really tough. It can be, lonely if you're not part of a community. So tap into a community, and whether it's, obviously through YPN, obviously our listeners and watchers and readers are all here today, but through the Financial Freedom Summit, tap into a different community of people who are, everyone's thinking differently. They're all on a different wavelength to, dare I say, most people out there who just aren't aware. It's not even like some people are afraid and they're not willing to take action, but a lot of people just aren't aware that there's another option. And I spent most of my adult life just not understanding that there was another way to do it. Thankfully, Rich Dad Poor Dad came in to change all of that, and the rest is history. So yeah, it'd be great to see lots of people there, or hear you. And if you're in the chat, then just say hi when we're there on the day. And obviously you're going to be there, Dan. So it's a great opportunity for you, for us to share, for you to bring all these people together. Many people from our community will never have had the opportunity to even, really watch these people live and get that buzz of the feeling of being in a virtual room with some of these fantastic speakers. So congratulations, well done on getting this lineup, and it's very exciting. So
Yeah, no, it's going to be amazing, and I'm absolutely ecstatic for your talk. It's going to be so cool to see what you share, and just the fact that you're showing off real deals in the real world, I think will be really powerful. And I agree, like all these skills are so transferable. I think it'll be so fun for those in property to kind of look at your deals and say, all right, and then they'll maybe see Lewis talking about how he evaluates the stock market and say, wait a sec, there's a lot of things that are similar. Maybe I can use this from Lewis. Or, you listen to Richie Clapson talk about property CEO, and wait a sec, do I need to be a CEO and lead this as a company? And so then you join on day 3, where we're talking 10x business secrets, and you're learning all these business concepts. You're like, wait a sec, if I start elevating myself as a property investor to a property entrepreneur, and I start taking these things as an entrepreneur, wait a sec, what just happened now? And you're cross pollinating from all these different industries. That's when you get truly powerful in what you're doing. That's my belief.
yeah, I agree. That's probably a good place to wrap up. It's just to have people leaving us today thinking about look out for patterns, right? Patterns across different types of people who, success is such a kind of vague word and means a lot of different things to different people. But think, do these people have the results that I would like, either now or one day in the future? Or, if I follow that person, will I have more chance of achieving my goals? And as you said there, just look at the patterns, whether that is in how they talk, how they come across, what they are doing differently than other people. So you will definitely see things that they'll just jump out at you, whether it is about the negotiation or it's about thinking differently. So look for patterns across different types of speakers. I think that has huge value in itself, and being able to see speaker back to back, speaker after speaker, talking about different ways to achieve that financial freedom. And you will naturally kind of gravitate towards one that will suit you best. But there'll be something to take from everyone. So I think that's a good place to wrap up. We could talk all day, Dan, about this, about property, about finance and networking. We've covered a lot today. So I'm really excited about speaking at the event. And I know you're super excited about hosting it and being there and being a part of it as well. So watch the space, guys. Get your tickets and join. And we'll put those links in the show notes for you. And we look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Take care for now, guys. And as ever, if you're not yet as in membership, if you're not there, if you want, let me start again. As ever, if you're not yet a member of the YPN community, click the link below for your free 30-day trial. Take care for now, guys. Bye-bye.